Okay guys, now let's continue with native courts. Okay, native courts applicable to Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, this is an addition to the civil courts and Sharia court. Okay, and these courts mainly hear cases relating to native law or custom where all parties are native, like betrothal, marriage, divorce, nullity of marriage, and adoptions, as long as it involves parties, okay, who are the native. Okay, so we have Sabah and Sarawak native courts. For Sarawak, okay, it has a 6 level of courts. Okay, but now we discussed in details the Sabah native courts first. Okay, the native courts enactment 1992 provide for a 3-tier systems of courts in Sabah. Native Court of Appeal, this is the highest in the hierarchy. District Native Courts and Native Courts, the lowest in the hierarchy. So the Native Court, this is the lowest in the hierarchy of Sabah Native Court. Its compositions, there will be a 3 native chief or hitmen, and they are the local native chief and elders of the community, and they are very familiar and conversant with the practices and customs of the community. Okay, in other words, they are qualified, okay, because they have knowledge in regard to the custom and native law. Native court has an original jurisdictions because the bulk of the cases are heard in this at this court because it administers and hears the day-to-day cases relating to breach of native law and custom. For example, in civil matters, it hears cases of breach of native law or custom, for example, betrothal, marriage, divorce, adoptions, guardianships, and successions. For criminal matters, the court may try offences where the punishment does not exceed a fine of more than 5,000 ringgit or 2 years imprisonment or above. Okay, for sentencing, okay, this court may impose fine, imprisonment, must with the magistrate's endorsement or other types of punishment according to native law or customs. Okay. Next, a second court in the hierarchy is district and native courts. Compositions, it derives from the district officer, okay, one district officer, and 2 district chief or native chief. Okay, hold on. Okay, appellate jurisdictions. This court hears appeals from a native court in the local district where the court is established, and it also has a revisionary jurisdictions over all the native courts. It may call for records of proceedings to satisfy itself of the correctness, legality, or propriety of any other. I mean, for example, okay, district native court may examine, okay, the proceeding here in a native court. Okay, and then we have a native court of appeal. This is the highest in the hierarchy. Composition derived from one judge of the High Court and 2 other members, either district chief or native chief, and it has appellate jurisdictions. This court only exercises appellate jurisdictions, and it only hears appeal cases from a district native court and the native court, and the native court of appeal is empowered to set aside, so they have power to set aside, vary an order, to give different order, reduce or increase sentence or order for rehearing. Okay, that's all about Sabah native courts. Okay, proceed with Sarawak native courts. Sarawak has 6 levels of courts. The highest in the hierarchy is Native Courts of Appeal, followed by Residence Native Courts, District Native Court, Chief Superior Courts, Chief Courts, and Headman's Court, the lowest in the hierarchy. Okay, we start with the Headman's Court. Okay, composition, a headman, penghulu, and 2 assessors, except in Iban community, known as Tuan Rumah. Okay, so Tuan Rumah will sit alone. In terms of its jurisdictions, this court hears almost all cases relating to a breach of native law and custom, any civil matters where the subject matter of dispute does not exceed 2,000 ringgit, minor criminal cases punishable with fine. However, this court has no jurisdiction over land disputes. Okay. Sorry. Okay, next. For Chief Court, Chief Court only has two jurisdictions, okay, original and appellate jurisdiction. Okay, in terms of its compositions, composite with penghulu, one penghulu and two assessors. Original jurisdictions will hear cases relating to land disputes where no title is issued by the land office, and appellate jurisdiction to hear appeals from the headman's court, okay, the lowest in the hierarchy just now. And then Chief Superior Court. Okay, for Chief Superior Court, it has three jurisdictions. Okay, its compositions: a Temenggung, okay, plus assisted by two assessors. Original jurisdiction to hear cases of breach of custom and native law, any civil matters not exceeding 2,000 ringgit, and minor criminal cases. For appellate jurisdiction, this is the highest appellate court for breach of adat, all civil matters not exceeding 2,000 ringgit and minor criminal offences, and this is the court, okay, that is the final avenue for all appeals regarding these matters. And it also has supervisory jurisdictions to supervise, okay, the lower courts, okay, and it may investigate any case heard by inferior court. Inferior court means lower courts. Next, district native courts has three jurisdictions, okay. In terms of its compositions, it has first class magistrate assisted by two assessors. Original jurisdiction, this court hears matters under the codified adat, for example, adat orang, Iban Order 1993, matters on bigamy, okay, and offences of causing disruptions by fire in a longhouse. What is bigamy? Bigamy means the offence of marrying someone while already married to another person. For appellate jurisdictions, the court hears appeal from the lower courts on matters relating to land disputes where no title is issued by the land office. And supervisory jurisdictions, this court has the same supervisory powers as other appellate courts, okay, and it may investigate any case heard by an inferior court, okay, by lower court. And then a residence native court, okay, composition, one residence and assisted by two or four assessors. Original jurisdictions, this court hears cases relating to native status, okay. Appellate jurisdictions, this court hears appeals from the district native court in matters concerning land dispute or native status. So it is more on the native status, okay, because of residence in native courts. And it also has revisionary and supervisory jurisdictions, okay, since this court may exercise power of revisions if it appears that an error has been committed which is material to the case or a miscarriage of justice has occurred in the inferior courts, okay, only if there is any error. And the highest courts in Sabah native courts is native courts of appeal. Its compositions, a judge and assisted by one or two assessors. Appellate jurisdictions, only appeals relating to land disputes and native status are brought to the native courts of appeal. And then revisionary and supervisory jurisdictions, okay, may exercise power of revisions if it appears that an error has been committed which is material to the case or a miscarriage of justice has occurred in the inferior courts. Okay, so that's all about native courts in Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, next we continue with Syariah court.